We wish to recognize that Ottawa is built on unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. The peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. We honor all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. Welcome to the stage, Federal Government, National Security, and Defense Leader, Kirsten Robinson from Amazon Web Services Canada.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde, and welcome to the keynote of the AWS Public Sector Symposium. We want to welcome everybody who's here with us in person in the room today, and we also want to welcome those that are joining us from the live stream and watching across North America. We really hope that you've enjoyed an amazing day of learning today, and we're really, really excited about this next hour. Whether you've been here before or whether it's your first time joining us, we welcome you. You've made the right choice in joining us here today. Amazon Web Services, or AWS, is the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted cloud, offering over 240 fully featured services in data centers across the globe. Millions of customers, including more than 7,500 government customers, use AWS to lower IT costs, become more agile, and innovate faster. And over the next hour, you're going to hear from leaders who are driving innovation in a wide range of areas, from keeping our communities safe to captivating us on center ice. You're going to hear from Assistant Deputy Minister for Digital Services and Defense Chief Digital Officer, Ross Ermel, who is leading digital transformation in the Department of National Defense. And you're also going to hear from Clint Crozier, Director of AWS Aerospace and Satellite and retired Major General who served as the lead planner and architect of the US Space Force. And for all of you hockey fans out there, and I think there may be a few of you in the audience, we have brought together an award-winning panel featuring 6-time Stanley Cup winner Mark Messier, 3-time Olympic champion, 8-time world champion Cassie Campbell-Pascall, and Executive Vice President of Business Development and Innovation for the NHL, Mr. Dave Lehanski. And you're going to leave this room, I'm certain of it, full of ideas around how you can innovate and empower the communities that you serve. Now, before we get started, I really want us to acknowledge our sponsors. And this year we have a record-breaking 24 sponsors joining us here at the Symposium. So if you haven't had the time to meet them or chat with them at the Expo Hall, you're going to get a chance to do that after this session wraps up. So today marks an exciting milestone for us because it's actually our 5th time here with you in Ottawa, and that's half a decade of learning and sharing together to help you drive your missions forward in the cloud. And it's been an incredible journey together since AWS first launched in Canada in 2016. And we continue to be inspired and amazed in the ways that you're innovating on AWS. We're here today because of our commitment to Canada. And since 2010, Amazon has made direct investments of more than $40 billion in our Canadian operations. And a large portion of this investment has been made in building infrastructure to meet your demands. And since last year, we have officially launched our Calgary region. And we built a second region in direct response to feedback from you to provide disaster recovery, ultra high availability, and low latency. And that's why our 2 regions are located more than 3,500 kilometers apart, providing flexibility for organizations that need to store and process their data in Canada. And we're already seeing many of you take advantage of this unique capability that our Canadian infrastructure now provides. So in addition to offering you 3 times the number of data centers to the next closest cloud service provider, we also offer you 60% more services and 40% more features so that you can innovate without constraints. But the cloud is much, much more than just infrastructure. It's about a completely different way of working and thinking about a problem. And at Amazon, we call that thinking big. And we're honored to bring this approach into the communities that we live and work. For example, we just inaugurated Canada's first AWS Think Big space in Montreal in the Saint-Michel region. And through our AWS in Communities program, this space now allows underrepresented youth to explore coding, programming, robotics, and much more to help equip and inspire our next generation of innovators. And one team that is already driving innovation at scale is Justice Digital Alberta. And they embarked on a multi-year, multi-million-dollar investment with the Alberta Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Technology and Innovation, and the courts to deliver significant modernization of the Alberta justice system. By building their applications on the AWS Secure Environment Accelerator, Justice Digital was able to reduce wait times for filing a court document from as much as 6 weeks to less than a day. Can you imagine on your own team moving from weeks to just hours? Just think of the difference that that can make to the people that you serve. And meanwhile, in Quebec, our AWS partner worked with Laval University to enable its research institutes to share data for the first time in a secure and compliant way. Previously, researchers spent more than 80% of their time cleaning, tagging, and anonymizing their data with only 5% of their time dedicated to the real analysis work. And now, by using Amazon Fargate and Amazon Relational Database Services, Laval no longer needs to provision and manage servers. They have cost-effective, scalable, and elastic capacity, and they can automate a lot of time-consuming tasks like provisioning hardware, database setup, patching, and backups. And the same is possible for anyone out there today who's carrying out research. You can do this too. And we all know that innovation and digital transformation is a journey, and the best advice for how to embark on this journey comes from leaders who have done it themselves. So please join me in welcoming one of those leaders to the stage, the ADM for Digital Services and Defense Chief Digital Officer at D&D, Ross Ermel.
Folks, it's a pleasure to participate in today's symposium. I'm truly honored to be amongst such a focused, diverse group of professionals, government leaders, employees who are passionate about leveraging digital technology to move organizations to the future. Today I'm going to talk about my organization's journey, the Department of National Defence and the Canadian Armed Forces, and how we are transitioning and trying to move rapidly, or as the way I like to say, moving at the speed of coherence. Now, coming into the role of Chief Digital Officer in National Defense, I saw a great many digital initiatives happening across the organization, driven by great talented teams with innovative ideas. But I also recognized we lacked enablement and coherence to fully realize the potential of these efforts or the realization of our capability ambitions. Now, this is an opportunity for us to bring a more cohesive approach to digital transformation, to really empower the line of business owners, to align our efforts, to build momentum around a shared vision. Now, looking to the immediate future when I took this role, I had a choice: take time, build out a comprehensive digital strategy for defense, or to move out quickly. We're using an iterative framework to learn as we go. So I determined the latter was the path I would take. In other words, needing that fast execution requires fast strategy. And when we think about fast strategy, we think about 4 factors that were important to my team. And these are probably relevant to your teams too. First of all, digital transformation means leveraging modern business practices and technologies to enhance operational advantage. It means improving insights that we use for decision making across this board, from the edge to the enterprise. It means ensuring that we keep pace with our key allies. And this is critical to maintaining the Canadian Armed Forces' ability to defend and protect Canada in a rapidly changing world. Now, in defense, we've been building technical debt for decades, and the business of defense has become extraordinarily complex due to our reliance on advanced technologies such as AI, cloud computing, and interconnected systems. So we're not starting from a greenfield approach. We have a legacy we need to deal with. Now, Canada's made substantial military investments in the last several years that have come with advanced digital capabilities and requirements, from the sophisticated sensors and data analytics of the P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, to the networked environment of the F-35 fighter, to the upcoming River-class destroyers. Managing and analyzing the vast amounts of data generated by these platforms is critical, as the decisions informed by this information can directly impact mission, outcome, and lives. Now, on top of that, D&D's broader data enterprise, which is amongst the largest in Canada, presents challenges in a data governance and maturity that we must navigate as well at the same time. Addressing technical debt and changing our approach to be able to harness these advanced capabilities in an integrated, data-driven way was essential. It is essential to enhancing our operational effectiveness and our national security. And our old methods aren't compatible with this new reality. We needed a different approach. We needed to strategically pivot across defense and take serious steps to develop a new and cohesive digital operating model. And key to unlocking this model is our ability to engage with industry partners such as AWS to activate digital transformation at scale that's sustainable. Now, with that support, we have developed a new digital operating model which seeks to do the following: govern the end-to-end digital journey, keeping the client, the user, the service, the warfighter, the operator at the center of everything we do. Second, use positive disruptive talent around us, getting super close to mission needs, the business owners, and avoiding centralizing and centralized inertia. We also want to allow operators and business owners to exploit technology and pathfinding to be able to enable change rather than digitizing existing processes. And making data accessible and usable to the teams who need it from the edge to the enterprise in a horizontal sense. We need to exploit cloud not just as a commodity, but as a means to fundamentally rethink our operations, the way in which we do business. And by doing all these things, we can equip Canada to contribute with strength along with our allies, harnessing the power of digital to move at the speed that our mission needs require. So it should be no surprise that when we operationalize this model, we think of this as a bit of a highway. Our digital highway, as we call it, is an interconnected fabric of cloud platforms, data pipelines, digital services that will power the future of defense operations. Now, the highway enables us to rapidly build and deploy new capabilities, to share data, insights seamlessly, and adapt to changing requirements. Now, there's multiple on-ramps, data producers. There's off-ramps for data consumers. Driving on the highway also has rules, and keeping the highway running requires maintenance and sustainment. But by looking at our data foundations, like we're on the 401 here in Ontario, it helps us share a mental model of what's required to succeed and how we need to work together coherently. Now, to put this model into action and to achieve some quick wins, we've identified several pathfinding initiatives to drive change across business lines, to find the blockers, to move through and get to our future. There are many definitions of what constitutes a pathfinder, but for us it must meet three important criteria. It's got to be important enough to gain senior leadership attention. It's got to be small enough not to encounter too much resistance, but big enough, it sounds like the three bears, eh? Three enough that it must touch all the offices that we were required for a larger, more scaled effort. And it has to be seen as a warm-up set for larger initiatives that follow. So some of the work we're working on, my office is working on automating and modernizing the access to information and privacy process within the Department of National Defense. That's an important enterprise-level initiative. From a tactical level, I'll pick on the Royal Canadian Air Force, some things that they've recently done within that same zone, which is the new RCF flight safety application, which allows users to report hazards and incidents in real time. Or the work that's being done at 8-Wing Trenton to develop a new cargo operations capability to streamline the delivery of military cargo globally. Also enabled is a new Space Common Operating Picture application for the space team at 3rd Canadian Air Division. Now, all of these wins from the enterprise to the tactical level have been crucial to building momentum, to learning, demonstrating the art of the possible, tackling organizational blockers, and culture where it's needed to. The collaborative approach we've undertaken with the different lines of operation has been instrumental in developing our digital operating model that needs to be live and iterative, and by accelerating our digital transformation journey. Now, we're just getting started. I've only been in the job a short period of time, but I'd like to share some of the lessons that I've learned in the short period of time. First of all, as a digital leader, we have the power to compel change. But I find it's far more effective to be an enabler, to empower, to work, to collaborate, rather than being someone that's compelling to do things. Two, it's crucial to falling into the trap of simply saving costs or looking for cost savings. If that's what you're going for, fine. But you may not save money by going through digital transformation. That may not be your aims. It may be effectiveness. It may be rapidity, etc. So be careful on how you dine out on this will save us money, because it may not. Culture and change. culture change and communication has also proven to be essential. You can't underestimate the challenge of bringing the frozen middle, or those folks who are wedded to process, along for the journey. There's no such thing as over-communication when it comes to digital transformation. Now, getting results quickly and communicating them broadly is essential to build up expectations and a common narrative across the organization. And industry partnership, it's indispensable. Much of what we're looking to implement has already been pioneered in the private sector and in other government areas. And we're grateful for the expertise and the insights that AWS and our other industry partners provide in this regard. So I thank you for these last 10 minutes, and hopefully I've left you with some food for thought as you drive transformation digitally across your organizations. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage retired U.S. Air Force Major General and current Director for Aerospace and Satellite at Amazon Web Services, Clint Crozier.
Thank you, Assistant Deputy Minister Ermel. It really is inspiring to hear about the transformation that's taking place in D&D that he's leading, and really appreciate you sharing that with us today. As was mentioned, I am Clint Crozier, and I have the privilege of leading the global aerospace and satellite team, the aerospace and satellite business at Amazon Web Services. Before I joined AWS, I served for 33 years in the public sector, so at heart, like many of you here today, I'm at heart a public servant, having served 33 years in the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Space Force, where I also had the distinct privilege to work alongside many incredible Canadian colleagues during the course of my career. And I've been honored and amazed that I think I've been able to do some pretty amazing things over the course of my career. I've been put in interesting circumstances where I've had the opportunity to do that. I've deployed overseas alongside Canadian military members in harm's way. I've commanded a joint operations center that directly supports NORAD, working side by side with Canadian officers to keep our two nations safe as we operated our missile warning constellation between the two nations. And frankly, that's one of the most rewarding jobs that I've ever done, sitting side by side with Canadian officers in the NORAD missile warning and defense mission set. My last assignment before retiring, I was the lead planner and architect for the creation of the U.S. Space Force. So I was responsible for creating the U.S. Space Force, the first new military service in the United States in 72 years. So today, we have the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Space Force. So I'm thrilled to be here today, surrounded by so many fellow public sector leaders who are doing the hard and often thankless job, it seems like, of making your communities a better place, and I join you in that. As Kirsten mentioned, AWS helps governments, scientists, the defense community, and organizations across the public sector to innovate quickly and at scale. And those are two attributes that we all value: innovation and quickly at scale. We work around the world and beyond. For instance, we're honored to support NASA's Perseverance rover, which right now, today, as we speak, is on the surface of Mars, conducting the space exploration mission for NASA and other consortium space organizations. The rover processes hundreds of images from Mars each and every day. And by using AWS, NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, or JPL, is able to process this data faster than ever before. And no small feat, given that it has to travel a 300 million mile journey from Mars back to Earth to complete that mission set. So the increased processing speed helps NASA JPL make faster decisions on the health and safety of the rover and prepare for the next day's missions, which is pretty important. Meanwhile, back here on Earth, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, who I have also launched satellites for, by the way, uses AWS for high-performance computing to run complex weather models for hurricane prediction and forecast. And by the way, I've got friends and colleagues in the U.S. state of Florida right now that are relying on a lot of that data coming from NOAA as the current hurricane is bearing down near the Tampa area. So we'll keep them in our thoughts and prayers, certainly. but NOAA is developing a new forecasting system which takes in new weather data and runs new models multiple times a day that operates on Amazon, what we call EC2, or Elastic Cloud Compute. And the NOAA scientists have found that running it on AWS leads to 15% faster execution, and that's critically important in the timeline of trying to provide advance warning to citizens to get out of the way of the storm. And it leads to 25% better cost execution than on-premises capabilities. So they found it to be quite valuable. And that allows researchers to reimagine their approaches to large-scale computational analysis and analytic problems, which again is core to that mission. Now, over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to witness several pivotal moments, I think, sort of that have redefined how we use technology in the public sector. As an example, GPS, the Global Positioning System. At one point in my career, I had the privilege of being the commander of the organization that operates the entire global GPS satellite constellation. So, as GPS became operational in 1978, some people don't know this, but it was originally built and designed to operate simply as a military satellite system. That was the original purpose that it was intended for. However, the U.S. government quickly recognized that it was so transformational that they decided to make it available around the world free to citizens everywhere so that they could take advantage of, as we would say, these transformational capabilities. And GPS, in my view, has become indispensable into our daily lives. Most of us think of GPS as providing directions, and it does that, right? I looked up GPS directions on my way here. Maybe many of you did as well. And so that is certainly true. But GPS provides three capabilities that we refer to as navigation, position, and timing. And it's that GPS timing signal that many people don't know about that provides such critical capability to us each and every day. And it's that GPS timing signal that allows electricity to flow from power plants to your home. It's that timing signal that allows credit cards to be processed at gas stations and ATMs. And it's that timing signal that allows pumping stations to control the pressure of drinking water and wastewater, again, in ways that people don't necessarily know about each and every day. So I was honored to command the organization that operates that worldwide GPS satellite constellation, as I said, that over 1 billion people worldwide use and leverage every day. So GPS, I think we would all agree, has fundamentally transformed some of the most essential functions of our society. And with generative AI, I believe, this is my view, we're witnessing another one of those pivotal moments. Generative AI is a game-changing opportunity. But to realize that game-changing opportunity, you have to have a strong foundation upon which it is built. And again, in my humble opinion, that foundation is the AWS cloud. Hundreds of thousands of organizations are now running their AI and machine learning workloads on AWS and on the AWS cloud. Amazon Bedrock, our service for building generative AI applications, is one of the fastest growing AWS services of the last decade. And we have had some fast-growing services at Amazon Web Services, so that really is saying quite a bit. This past year, organizations across the globe, including Montreal-based AlayaCare and a customer that I support directly in the aerospace and satellite business, Degas, have started leveraging generative AI to solve key challenges around the globe. And so let's take a look at a quick video that shows you some of the ways generative AI is being employed today to solve some of the world's challenges.
The future state of fair trade is one of rich data, content, and storytelling. And Gen AI is going to help us get there. You can scan a QR code on the package and zoom right down to that farming family in Honduras or Ethiopia. Access to the stories, access to the impact, access to education and health, and all of the changes that are happening at the village level around the world because you chose fair trade.
The name of the game in home care is to keep people out of the hospital and keep them at home. We're experimenting with generative AI right now, and we are using Bedrock to be able to prototype intake to scheduling to billing. Our platform is also an electronic health record. 80% of the time, it was predicting that somebody was going to be hospitalized in the next 30 days, and indeed they ended up being hospitalized. Our goal really is to make sure that the technology is there to enable more and more people to age gracefully and with dignity at home.
AWS's mission is to significantly increase the incomes of 600 million smallholder farmers in Africa and beyond. And the training of such new methodology was incredibly difficult. GenAI tools can really be leveraged, and of course with the help of Bedrock. Our advisor chatbot really boosted the growth and the speed of us teaching such methodologies to farmers. We managed to bring up the number of farmers by 200% increase.
Over 60 countries around the world are impacted by landmines. SafePro Group decided to attack this solution with drones and artificial intelligence. We're currently operating in Ukraine, flying commercial off-the-shelf drones and uploading the imagery to the AWS cloud. Our proprietary machine learning and neural networks is based on computer vision technology. We're able to process that data at hyperscale and detect where those green, brown, different color mines are, providing actionable intelligence back to those humanitarian mine action organizations. Utilizing generative AI in services such as Amazon Bedrock, we're able to synthetically train our data sets and our models to look for mines in different environments without having to physically be there. As an AWS partner, we've greatly enhanced our capability to make the world a safer place.
So, why are so many of these organizations choosing AWS for their generative AI? Well, there are many reasons actually, but I wanted to run you through some of the main things we hear from our customers, from organizations like yours. And the first is that at AWS, you're able to meet and exceed the security requirements for generative AI and for your data. There's a misconception sometimes in some people's minds that in order to be successful with generative AI, you have to make a negative trade-off when it comes to confidentiality, privacy, and security of your data. And frankly, when I was on active duty, I had the same misperception. I was concerned about some of the same things until I did my homework, I did my research, and I learned about the security built into the AWS cloud, and now I realize that that's just not the case. We don't use any of the data that moves through our AI services to improve underlying models, and we don't use any of your data in any ways other than you intend as the customer. You control where the data lies inside your virtual private cloud and the flow of all of that information within the network. We build in security from day one, and as a security practitioner for 35 years, you can't build a secure service by taking an insecure service and bolting security on later. You have to build security into the basic foundation, and that's what we do at AWS. Hand in hand with security comes privacy and responsible AI use. Responsible AI isn't the point solution, by the way. It requires an end-to-end approach that covers the entire AI lifecycle, from data development to deployment. And that's why we've developed specific services that help users detect bias and better monitor model predictions through a mix of automation and human oversight capabilities. Another reason why so many organizations choose AWS is that we have, by far, the broadest set of AI capabilities. And so let me walk you through what this means. We think of this in terms of sort of 3 layers of the stack. And at the first layer of the stack, the foundation level, we have a set of infrastructure capabilities for building, training, and tuning foundational models. Second, the next level, we make it easy for anybody to be able to build applications using generative AI with a service that we make available called Amazon Bedrock. And at the top of the stack, the third, we make applications which are uniquely enabled through generative AI available to everybody. So one of these generative AI-powered assistant capabilities is called Amazon Q, which comes in various forms that are customized to the customer's needs. For example, Amazon Q Business can answer questions, provide summaries, generate content, and securely complete tasks based on data and information that is existing inside your enterprise database right now today. So that's Amazon Q for Business. Meanwhile, Amazon Q Developer assists with everything from coding, testing, and upgrading applications to diagnosing errors, performing security scans and fixes, and optimizing AWS resources. To succeed in your generative AI journey, you need capabilities from all three tiers in the stack, and that's what we offer at AWS to provide that broadest range of cost-effective solutions. So our approach is deliver new features at a remarkably fast pace. And that's another reason, key reason why so many public sector organizations choose AWS, because of that remarkably fast pace. In fact, in the past year alone, we've launched some 326 generative AI features. And that's more than twice as many new capabilities as all of the other cloud providers combined. So that is really moving fast. But it's not just about having the security or the broadest set of capabilities or the latest new features, which are all three critically important. But we also make it easy to extend your existing AWS data foundation and rules for data access, compliance, and governance to work with generative AI, helping you go from prototype to production at a rapid and quick pace. And finally, a key reason why organizations choose AWS is our approach to renewable energy. I'm happy to report that AWS infrastructure is up to 4.1 times more energy efficient than other on-premises capabilities, and can reduce workloads' carbon footprint by up to 99%, which is pretty significant. Our investment in sustainability have made us Canada's single largest corporate purchaser of renewable energy, and has contributed more than $206 million in GDP from 2014 to 2022. And finally, to sum it all up, AWS is on a mission to democratize generative AI, making it safe, easy, and cost-effective for any organization. And coming from 33 years in the public sector and public service, where it's never been easy to take the plunge and try something new or different, believe me, I've been there, I've done that, I've tried, I know. But I understand fully when people tell me they're eager to get started, but they're less sure about how to get started. So, to address that, that's why in June, we launched the AWS Worldwide Public Sector Generative AI Impact Initiative. That's a mouthful. The Worldwide Public Sector Generative AI Impact Initiative. And this is a 2-year program to help you innovate using AWS generative AI services and infrastructure. As part of this initiative, AWS has committed up to $50 million in promotional credits, training, and technical expertise across generative AI projects and programs. And yes, you can scan the QR code now or look it up later online, and it'll give you more information about those capabilities. It's also why we recently announced the AI Ready program, a new commitment to providing free AI training skills to 2 million people globally by 2025, and that's really important to us as well. When generative AI is built on a foundation of security, responsibility, the possibilities are truly limitless. And as always, we're letting you, our customer, lead the way to define where this technology is going to take you next and where it provide the most benefit. At the end of the day, it's all about innovation. And by the way, speaking of innovation, our next two guests I think you really enjoy, and they are true innovators in their field as well. For our next segment, we're going to take the cloud, as they like to say here in Canada, onto center ice.
Please welcome to the stage 3-time Olympic champion and 8-time world champion, Cassie Campbell-Pascall, 6-time Stanley Cup winner, Mark Messier, and Executive Vice President of Business Development and Innovation for the National Hockey League, Dave Lehanski.
Wow. We did a rehearsal earlier and there was nobody here. I'm really glad you guys showed up. Thank you.
Felt a lot different.
So, you know, we come out and all the chairs are empty, but all the chairs are full. So that is amazing. Any Oilers fans in the building? Okay, there's a couple. All right, how about Canucks? Okay, all right, Flames. There's one guy up here at the front. Anyway, okay, where am I going? I'm kind of going west.
Senators. Got to be some Senator fans.
Yeah, there's got to be.
There we go.
Jets. Any Jets fans?
Leafs.
Leafs in Montreal.
Leafs fans? Wow, all right. And how about Montreal? Montreal. Okay,
There we go.
All right. Bonjour tout le monde. Is that right? I can see for all my Montreal Canadian fans out there. You know, it's interesting being in broadcasting and watching AWS become part of our business in the NHL and broadcasting. It is so great to sit at home and send your producer a bunch of ideas that you clipped while watching a game. And then they, with the help of AWS, can have some sort of analytics that just kind of verify what it is that you saw as an analyst. It's actually a really incredible feeling. And Dave, I know you're a big part of it at the NHL and what AWS does and all the analytics. And, you know, there's 2 conferences, 4 divisions, 32 teams. You know, so many factors that kind of help analytics be part of what the NHL is doing now. How do you guys make it all work?
So it's certainly not an easy task, and it's growing in its scope and scale on a daily basis. I think there are a couple key things that we try to focus on. The first one is having a vision of where we want to go, and it didn't take long to realize that there's just so much opportunity to create new content, and if we can aggregate and centralize our main assets, our video, our audio, and our data, we can open up an entirely new world for NHL content consumption. The second is, although you have a vision for where you want to go, don't be so rigid in how you're going to get there or believing that you know how you're going to get there, especially in the world of technology. It's changing on an almost daily basis, and you have to have some flexibility to deal with that. I think certainly everyone in the content world right now knows that we are on a shift where we were primarily dealing with one-to-many platforms, radio and television, where we would produce content. People would go there to watch and consume that content, and we're now shifting to more of a direct-to-consumer world where fans are getting the content that they want, how they want, where they want, when they want. And so within that, there's all this fragmentation that we need to be able to respond to create customized content. And the last one is that you really need to, certainly for a company of our size and given what we do and what we're focused on, you got to rely on great partnerships and expertise. You can't do it alone, sort of to steal kind of, I think, the theme for the book that you just came out with, which you all need to buy immediately. But it's so true. I mean, you cannot do this on your own. Technology, again, is changing so rapidly. You can't be an expert in everything at one time. And I think a good example of that, it's what we've been able to do with our new tracking system that we have for the NHL, where we're capturing a lot of our official events through this system. And there are 2 primary solutions within the system. The first is a positional tracking system. There's a sensor in every jersey. There's a sensor in the puck. We track both the players and the puck anywhere from 15 to 40 times a second. It's generated millions of new data points for the NHL. And a new one that we're rolling out this season is a skeletal tracking system. It's tracking 25 points on the player's body and 3, soon to be 4 points on the player's stick to get their body position and know exactly where the stick is. Wow. And so our aha moment was when we were testing the technology really for accuracy purposes, we realized the power of all this data that we're going to have, but it's really powerless unless we get it in the hands of the people that tell the stories. It's the 2 of you. It's the people that are on the front lines delivering the messaging to our fans about why the sport is so great, and if you can't use that data to do that, it's kind of worthless. And that's what led us to AWS. We sought to partner with the world's best company to help us get all of this data, all of these assets centralized in a place where your media companies can access them, and all the media companies throughout the world can access them, and to help us make sense of it. How do we turn all these data points into meaningful new statistics and analytics that our fans are going to care about?
And to be able to
kids.
go ahead.
For sure.
And the kids.
You want to add anything?
No,
Are you good?
I'm good.
I'm following a script here, Mark.
Oh, no. Okay.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
No, the kids, it's
I've never
critical.
been good following scripts.
Mr. Messier, you can speak at any time. You know, just like I think of watching a game now, and you always see face-off probability. That's sort of a big one that's out there. Within a split second, there's like 10,000 bits of information being spewed through a computer, and they try to basically guess who's going to win the face-off through data, though, so it's not really guessing. So that's one that's become really common. There's the ice tilt. One of my favorites is the shot and save analytics, which we're starting to see more and more of. Is there any possibility, though, Dave, that AI and generative AI could help enable future content? in the NHL?
It's more than a possibility. It's like a definitive sort of outcome that's going to come for all of us. I think like every company, we're looking at how we can leverage generative AI for workflow optimization. How can we take the business practice that we have and just sort of do it better, more efficiently? But then there's the creation of new products and experiences that never existed before. And we're already building a list of use cases with Amazon Bedrock to pursue and pilot this season. And there are a couple easy examples or quick examples. You know, we could take a highlight from one of tonight's games and we could distribute that highlight in real time to in any number of distribution points with different graphics, with the voiceover in different languages, so we can appeal to kids, we can appeal to avids, we can appeal to people who speak different languages, so you can customize based on geography, demographic, platform. If it's, you know, right now we distribute highlights to in Roblox. If you're a kid and you're playing in Roblox, you can go see highlights from the game in a three-dimensional sort of gaming world, right? So to be able to automate that and have it be customized for different fan bases is definitely on the horizon. And then I think there are more tools that we could build for different audiences. I think, you know, for you guys, you've got an incredibly challenging job to deliver a hockey game in real time. We were talking about this earlier. There are very few stoppages, and when they happen, 10, 12, maybe 15 seconds. So it's hard to explain what's happening on the ice or tell why one player is so good at doing something over another player. But with generative AI, we can populate certain storylines, and that could be on a mobile device. So when people are calling a game, they see it right there. If you're doing Macklin's first game tomorrow night, he does something in the first period, and you can have something on your device that says the last time that happened by a rookie was in 1987 by Joe Sakic, blah, blah, whatever it is, that you could then integrate into the game as you're covering it, which just isn't possible today because of how long it takes and how few breaks there are in a hockey game.
So I'm doing Macklin Celebrini's first game tomorrow night in San Jose. It's not going to be ready by that time? Or
we'll see. AWS has blown our minds with their ability to pull things off.
Happen?
Yeah, I'll have to talk to some people.
You know, it's interesting listening to the other speakers and them. You don't realize how much AI and data influences every part of your life. And GPS, like, I didn't know how it all happened, but now I know. And the only thing that went through my mind with GPS was, make an illegal U-turn. I don't know, does that happen to you guys all the time? It seems to happen to me when I'm using GPS. But even, you know, something obviously a lot more serious than that, the landmines and being able to find landmines across the world. I mean, it's just incredible what technology can do. Mark, it was incredible to watch you play and watch your career and watch your leadership and get to know you over the years that we were able to sort of not play together, but our careers kind of coincided with one another. A 6-time Stanley Cup champion, no big deal. Yeah, no big deal. And he was signing books earlier for a different group, No One Wins Alone. That's the name of the book. So if you guys go out and buy one, just let me know because I'll get a percentage of anyone that's sold in this room. But how do you know, the Stanley Cup champion, you had 5 with Edmonton, 1 with the New York Rangers, all different personalities, yet a lot of the same personalities as well. How did you guys build those teams?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, it's great being here. I didn't finish grade 12, and I've never been really that intimidated, but getting on the stage today after listening to the guest speakers before me, wow, I'm by far the least smartest guy in this room. And all of you too as well there, but great to be here. And fascinating. The one thing I just wanted to mention, if I could take a second before I answer that, is that it would be fascinating for me now to be able to use that technology, go back in time and watch Wayne Gretzky and put all those sensors and analytics somehow and try to explain why he was so much better than everybody else. Because when you watched him play, you could say maybe it wasn't the fastest guy on the ice, he wasn't the biggest guy on the ice, he wasn't the strongest guy on the ice. But what was it, and how was he maneuvering himself around the ice that created space for himself? It would be fascinating if we could do that and really kind of measure it against players even in today's game and all that. But I just thinking about that.
Yeah, we're thinking about it. It's a tough one,
it would be really kind of fascinating too, but that's another topic. Yeah, thank you. I guess for me personally, I grew up in a hockey household. My father played hockey. He was an educator, got his master's in education, and he was I guess in definition by hockey terms, he was a rugged right-hand defenseman that fought for his teammates. He was a role player, a character guy on the team, and everything he did was about the team. I've told the story in my book there that oftentimes he would protect his teammates. In one game, he got in a situation where 3 of the other guys in the team started giving him the business pretty good and got his eyes blackened up and got kicked out of the room. But nobody on his team came and helped him. And so he got kicked out of the game. And so when the game was over, the guys were coming off the ice, and the first guy that came through the door, he drilled him, and the second guy drilled him, and finally they tackled him and said, "Doug, settle down, settle down." And he goes, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Well, if you're not going to fight with me on the ice, you're going to fight me in the dressing room." And the lesson about it was that in order to win, you do need to galvanize together for a bigger cause. Obviously, a shared vision is instrumental, and then working towards that vision. Great leadership team around you. I was lucky enough in my career to have amazing hockey players around me, but I also had amazing leaders around me when I did become a leader and a captain after Wayne had left and then into New York. But galvanizing a team is an art, and I recognized very early on in my career that I was not the best player by far. I was not the most skilled, but what I felt was important, that to get and maximize everybody's potential the best that I could. How could I do that? How could I make everybody feel important? How could I make everybody feel part of the team? How could I make everybody feel that if they didn't bring their best on any given night, our chances were diminished in winning? And so my whole, starting in September, was trying to create that atmosphere around the team. Is how are we going to go on this mission together? And every year it was different. It was never the same. In 26 years that I played professional hockey, it was never the same one year from the next. The idea, and we're lucky in our sport, that we have something that we're trying to achieve every year. We're trying to win a Stanley Cup. How we get there is going to change depending on the personnel, because it changes every year. And you got to find a commonality with each and every one of the players that they can refer to. And for me, you know, oftentimes everybody thinks you got to spend your whole time as a leader motivating everybody. You got to motivate. And if you really think about, as a leader, if you're tasking yourself with motivating everybody on a day, that's exhausting. You couldn't possibly keep up with, not to mention play great yourself, and then making sure everybody else is playing great, and then motivated at the same time. So I realized that creating an inspiring workplace, creating an inspiring dressing room would help players motivate themselves. And of course, getting the relationships and understanding where people were coming from, what their roadblocks were, their challenges as youths and all that was a big part of it as well. So I thought I was in the hockey business for 26 years. Ultimately, when I retired, I realized that I was in the people business for 26 years, because it's all about the people. It's all about bringing everybody into the circle and making everybody feel accountable and holding them accountable.
And it's not an easy job, there's no question about it, but I think don't underestimate the value of culture. Right? So as a leader, it's not necessarily about being perfect every single day. It's just understanding the importance of culture and having a good culture.
Yeah, I think culture oftentimes it can be a word that's overused and underutilized. And I think a lot of folks, when they talk about culture, maybe they don't even know what a good culture is, but they're trying to attain a culture. But unless you know what a winning culture feels like, that's why I felt so confident coming to New York when I got traded from Edmonton. You know, we'd come off an expansion team in 1979. Wayne was part of the team. We built it around Wayne. We got great Hall of Fame players. And yeah, we did have a great team, but we had an amazing culture. We had an amazing culture of inclusiveness. We had many different types of players on our team and different personalities. And our coach at the time, Glenn Sather, brought everybody into the circle and allowed everybody to be themselves. So that culture that was, and it was a culture that was designed in order to maximize everybody's potential. And for me, going to New York to a team that hadn't won in 51 years, the moment I walked into the dressing room at the time, I could feel the difference in the culture in the dressing room, around the team, around the way things were run, the way things were looked at, you know, and it just dawned on me that, you know, I came there with so much confidence, but then I realized, wow, this is going to be a lot of work to change the culture in New York. And there's a reason why a team hadn't won in 54 years. I mean, of course, it's hard to win, but there's a reason why a team hasn't won in 54 years, and oftentimes you start with the culture, to your point.
Mm-hmm. Well, grade 12 or not, he sounds pretty smart to me. Eh? Doesn't that sound brilliant? And I'm sure you had to be innovative, too, when you went to New York, and innovation can happen anywhere. So here's my challenge to all of you here today is, how are you going to drive innovation on your team based on what you've learned here today, and what magic are you going to create? Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.